Hi everyone, it's Brandon and Chris from the Tech Department with your Digital Media Minute. Today we're taking a look at a cool digital whiteboard tool from Google called Jamboard.
So to begin, you want to log into jamboard.google.com and you'll see your available boards called Jams. To start your own board, you're going to click on the orange plus button.
So we've started this one.
Okay, so you can see that your toolbar displays on the left-hand side. This is a little one-dimensional, and we're hoping that our learning community kind of shares out some of the ways and ideas that they could see Jamboards being used. Jamboard itself is a standalone interactive board, but the app here does have some tools that not only our students, but I think we could explore some ways to collaborate more with our students using Jamboard. So you can see that there's a pen tool along the left-hand side, the erase tool. The tools that we really like are the sticky notes. So where Brandon is right now, you can see a way that you might consider using sticky notes is putting up some sticky notes that kids could arrange and maybe sequence in order or prior to starting an activity, or maybe you just assign them some collaborative work that they start brainstorming ideas based on a certain sticky note color on their own individual Jamboards that you share out. Another cool feature is this add an image. So you can see Brandon just advanced to the next page within our Jamboard. So think about this maybe as an interactive way of checking in on your students. So find a photo. When you launch, it allows you to search Google. You can upload an image from your Google Drive or from your desktop. Brandon is having a great day.
Having a happy day today. So
And then maybe you would add a text box underneath to share one adjective about your mood. Sandwiched in between that image and text box are shape options. So for our math folks, maybe you would put up a different type of background and you're studying some geometry. If you'd like to go up and show them where they could change the background to maybe graph paper, maybe there would be applications within math to use a Jamboard. So, Brandon, why don't you talk to us about some other ways that we've heard of using Jamboards?
So some of these are kind of interesting. There's one down here that we took a screenshot of having students annotate or take notes on either an original source or maybe a page from a textbook. You can add images to these jams. So maybe you could add a map. So when you click the add image button, you can search on Google for an image, or you can upload one that's on your computer. So you could add a map, you could add an original source document and have kids then have the ability to write or underline or highlight or make annotations on that. Chris talked about this one a little bit before, of kind of having a brainstorming session using those sticky notes. So what this teacher had done was each level of the sticky notes was kind of one round of brainstorming. So they had their big question at the top of that board, and then along the bottom they had their kind of first level, how do we answer that question? And then as each level built upon it, it got more specific and closer to how to specifically answer that question.
And I like that idea too, Brandon, in that it might not always be the same based on the group that it's assigned to. So allowing students to kind of work through that critical thinking process of, what are the connections and how would I connect these ideas might look different based on how your student groupings are. And then the other way that sort of just, again, pulls together the tools and features within Jamboards might be to allow students to do more sketch noting. So that's that idea of making thinking visible for our students, whether it's teacher-led or student-created. So these could serve as great little digital notebooks for students as well. Maybe you would have a Jamboard that had 20 pages and each student had their own page, but another neat way of sharing out a Jamboard is you could drop a link into your Google Meet and make it more an in-the-moment opportunity for kids to interact. You can also assign Jamboards within Google Classroom. So that's kind of an interesting feature, to be able to create a template, a Jamboard, and then assign and make a copy for each of your students. So Brandon's walking us through how he would just grab the Jamboard that we just shared and then assign a copy to each of your students.
Just like you would any other Google doc, sheet, anything. When you add a Jamboard to an assignment, you get that option to say whether students can view it, edit it, or make a copy for each student. That way you're not having to make 21 copies for how many our students are in your class. The other nice thing about the Jamboard that I don't think that we touched on yet is that everything happens in real time. So if your students are all together in this same board, they're all going to be working together immediately, and you'll see those changes. Just like in docs and sheets, you'll see any changes happen instantly. So if you are in a virtual classroom setting with a Meet, the students will be able to see all of the other work instantly.
And again, around elevating student engagement, whether we're virtual or in person, I would also like to point out, because it's our responsibility to use these as teachable moments around digital literacy and expectations around citizenship and how we use these tools appropriately. But just like other G Suite tools, under the share button, if somebody is not using it appropriately, you have the ability to change the editing rights, or only give temporary access to your students. So say you want it closed at a certain time, you would have control over student access on those Jamboards. So thanks as always for joining us for another Digital Media Minute, and don't forget, if you have any questions about Jamboards or other EdTech tools, to email or call us at 4357.